So it is with great pleasure that I introduce Philippe Gagnon, Nicolas Weiger, our conference speakers for today. I'll begin by Philippe, that I know a little bit. I've known him for many years, actually. Philippe teaches French as a second language since 2022 at Vanier College. Philip does research also into education for many years. He is the co-president of a research group on intercultural pairing, and he is interested in the collaboration of different linguistic groups in education, the link between nursing and soins infirmiers in French. So, intercultural and interlanguage collaboration. Philippe has received a prize from the government of Quebec for a study on the coherence at the curricular level at the college level. So now Nicolas Weicker, Nicolas, and not his twin, who will speak to us today. Nicolas Weicker is the creator of labodanglais.com, labodefrançais.com, conversolo.app. So many apps and websites for language in English and French. He has won a prize for TESOL, the Seski Centenaire Prize for Leadership in Education. If you don't know what that means, the Seski Centenary, so the 700-year award and a Excellence Prize in Teaching for AQPC, and also the award for SPEAQ. He is a master's in applied linguistics. Nick is teaching English second language at Ahuntsic College in Montreal. So without further ado, I would like to wish you a wonderful presentation, and I will now hand it over to our speakers. I will now leave you in their hands. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. So, hello, everybody. Thank you for being with us. I'm just going to share my screen. And here we go. So usually you should see the first page. Yes, perfect. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about intercultural pairing today. So first, we're going to take a few minutes, 10 minutes, to talk about the genesis of the project and the theoretical outline of it. And then we will talk about the crux of things, of how we created this project, Nick and myself. And then we will end with a presentation of a project that we worked on together, soins infirmiers and nursing together for a simulation. So for the first minutes, if you will just allow me to share with you 10 years of work in 10 minutes. So if I do this a little ad lib, going to make it too long, so I'm just going to read through it quickly. So 10 years ago, we were wondering why more than half of the young people in English cannot reach a certain level in French, a functional level in French, after 10 years and 11 years of classes of French second language. With Maria Opica, who is a teacher at John Abbott, I did a study, a descriptive mixed research project. For the quantitative part of the study, we did 974 surveys in 11 cégeps in Quebec. The sample size was probabilistic. The groups that answered the questionnaire haven't been chosen at random. That means that the results can be generalized to the population. For the qualitative part of the study, 22 interviews with participation at all levels were done in 5 college institutions around Montreal. To triangulate our results, 4 discussion groups were conducted after the data was collated with 48 students from different levels, and different the participants were asked about their perception of their instruction received at different levels, primary, secondary, and cégep, their perception of their education in their second language, and their motivation to learn French as a second language. A few results. The motivation was low, boring, and a resistance to resistance to learning French for the third of the students. A phrase that we got a lot is this phrase. I think they don't need to translate. They want to shove French down our throat. So why would I learn French? So we saw that there was a lack of concrete application. We want to speak French. So we speak French or Italian. Our classes are more around repetitive education, around testing, quizzes, grammar quizzes, reading comprehension, etc. In the data, we also found a phenomenon that's very interesting that we learned about, the dynamic of friendship, which adds to the variables of the study. We're going to talk about that. Resistance notably to learning French and the level attained in French proficiency. So it's interesting. So in looking at the research in social psychology, we tried to see if the friendship between the groups could have a positive effect. It's a variable of the study. So we asked these students how many Francophone friends they have and how many hours per week they speak French with them. The theory of intergroup contact that we're going to talk about in a minute shows that intergroup friendship is a determining factor in reducing prejudice. For the number of Francophone friends by levels 3 and 4 have significantly more friends that speak French, Francophone friends, than others. So these are the levels of proficiency, those who know the European system. And here we have autonomous speakers who can listen to this presentation, ask questions, who have a certain proficiency, and can be autonomous in French. And these two groups, there's a significant difference in the number of French friends that they have, Francophone friends. So it seems obvious, but we had to demonstrate that quantitatively. So let's get into this dynamic of friendship. What you see here is a structural equation that is a statistical model that has a predictive behavior, not causal. So in the schematic here, the encouragement of parents and the effect of friendship allows us to predict that all the respondents have Francophone friends. The more they have Francophone friends, the less anxious they are in the class, and less they are resistant to learning French, the better their attitude will be towards French. And in Quebec, because French in Quebec seems different sometimes to certain people, so all that is permeated, modified by the contact with Francophones. The competency level in French will increase, motivation will increase, attitude towards Francophones as a community, and the desire to integrate into the Francophone community. So the linkages between the variables are not only binary, but they also have a structure, a model that has coherency and integrity. So when we saw these results, we were wondering, what do we do with this? And because we couldn't have an impact necessarily on the parents, this is short term, have a direct impact, so we tried to build friendships and rapprochement between groups, with Francophones, with intercultural pairings, or a buddy system for French and English second language, but also with classes, with community engagement in a Francophone environment. So that's an initiative from Maria that was with me in Paria project. She teaches at John Abbott, that can also do a webinar about that. We're not going to talk about that today, but that will be part of our future projects, our future presentation. I'm going to talk about that later. So theoretical underpinnings, if you will. So the different groups, theoretical underpinnings of this, different groups, ethnic groups, religious groups, language groups, and the theory was by Gordon Alpert in the 50s in the U.S. There's a lot of work done on this field. Pettigrew and Trupp did a meta-analysis of all the work that has been done in the 60 last years, 500 studies around the world, especially in North America, and their recommendation is to have these conditions that are optimal. Everybody should have an equal status, and it's not always the case, because different language groups don't have equal status in the classroom. and that has to be the case in the classroom. It's very clear. The students must have a common project, and they must have support from the authorities, from the authoritative figures, the college and the teachers in this project. The didactic sequence, we want to reduce anxiety, we want to develop empathy, and support a self-disclosure and self-discovery. So the last part is Bourget. Norton explains the investment in education in terms of exchange of and personal change, and his theory with study with Russian women who learned English in Toronto. So in using Bourdieu's definition, he defines language as a cultural capital where women chose to invest or not. So you have to read, it's up on the screen here, but I chose to invest myself into this language, or I remain silent facing this community that either encourages me or makes me want to learn the language or not. So you can already hear what people say in Quebec. In Quebec, Quebec is francophone, is French, and sometimes it's supported by some measures that don't make some people want to learn the language. So that's this is my last theoretical element, a taxonomy of language learning that comes from Picon. The interest here is that we have the emotions during the tasks in class. There are two different extremes. Either we enjoy it or we don't. Or we don't. Ennui or fun. We are either resigned to go or we are happy to go. Either we're disappointed or we're proud of what we've accomplished. The good relationship with the language group, yes or no empathy or antipathy. So we seen in this data set here, these I can't go through all of it here, but this is what we've observed. There's this phrase, this idea that French is being rammed down their throat. And then in the classroom with community engagement, in the pairing and the buddy system, we found our way to this result here, which depends on investment. There's resistance on one extreme and investment on the other, and we want to push everything towards investment. So the first pairings, the first buddy system began during the first Prairie project, because we saw our structural equation that I just showed you. I was looking for TESOL teachers. Martine Thibault at Victoriaville had answered the call, and she became a guidance counselor following that. So I worked with Caroline Deveau in Saint-Hyacinthe after that. Then she went to Italy for 2 years, and then Nick came and joined us from Ahuntsic. So in these two experiments here, we went to these two cities by bus as a group, and I will tell you in a few minutes that we went to Ahuntsic. We went to Ahuntsic last week. Vanier went there, and Ahuntsic will visit us at Vanier next week. So that's important. The students enjoy it. They ask for it. Students from Vanier in particular are often went to Toronto, Rome, New York, or Athens, and don't go often to Victoriaville or Saint-Hyacinthe. So, and taking the bus and crossing the cornfields, there's a silence in the bus, and they have the impression of really doing our job as a language teacher. But we are going on interesting adventure. So if you want the report of this project, you will see other pedagogical activities included in the report as well. So we now talk about the buddy system, the pairing in the classroom with Nick. So we are keeping time. That's great. So I will begin by speaking about new skills in second language, that a skill set that is required by the government, interaction, spontaneous interaction in French and in English for both groups, and the formal oral presentation, and social interaction and spontaneous interaction. So that's not always easy in the classroom, because I talk about the radar effect. When you have a teacher in the classroom, the students have a radar. Even if they have their back turned, they know that the teacher is there, and they speak the language around the teacher. but we always have some that don't need us, that do it on their own. But it's a phenomenon that is difficult to counter, have this spontaneous speaking of the second language in the classroom. So to do that, we created this class, this session, the first part where the students will talk about themselves, their biography, their autobiography, a transformational event in their life, to see where we get them to disclose, talk about themselves. And we'll talk, we have interviews in Zoom as well. So this is done in person. And then we want to do a comparison. The second part, we will have a short story writing in 4 chapters, 4 sections, if you will. It works well in both languages. And then at the end of the class, we have the planning of a visit of both campuses, one and then the other. And then we will do a debrief and a report. So on a life experience, we write a handwritten letter, and then we write somebody randomly. Because Nick and I are in the same neighborhood, we meet each other often, we exchange envelopes, and we distribute the letters randomly to the students. We want to contrast both lives, and we want to, I just want to understand, Philippe. So can you go back and what life story? You're talking about the neighborhood. No, you're not going too quickly. I just want to make sure I understand. Okay, so in the classroom in the first weeks, we will write letters, handwritten letters. The students from Vanier will write a letter to introduce themselves, talk about their life, and Nick and I meet and we exchange the letters. So I come back with Nick's letters, and Nick leaves with my letters, and my students in the classroom will receive a letter. And the other classroom will receive their letters, and they will begin this correspondence. And then they will answer and have a correspondence together, and we will. That's how we begin the pairing. That's how we begin the buddy-buddy system. It comes with some challenges if you don't have the same number of students sometimes, but let's just keep that simple for now. The idea here comes from, and I'm just giving this as a reference, the idea is to, pardon me, I'm just going to bring it up here. Okay. So the idea is to write the biography or the autobiography of the colleague in the first person. So I'm going to write Nick's bio. My name is Nick Walker, and I have a twin brother who lives in California. I love human contact. I'm a people person. And that said, I think that robots have an important role to play in education. There's no problem with that so far. He agrees. So I'm a teacher whose competencies are recognized, but I'm not super popular. I'm not the most popular, but my assurance and my confidence, running confidence in my profession, sometimes can bother certain people. So he talks so he can see how I see him, and so this is what the letters look like. And you can see here, everybody begins the same way. They have the same phrase to begin. We give them that. So we give them a starting point. So, dear correspondent, or dear pen pal, if you will. So we give them a beginning point, and then there's a quote there at the bottom. You see that we start to build empathy. I know what it is to speak another language and try to learn a different language. So I know it's not easy. So right from the beginning, empathy builds between both people. So a typical classroom lesson, the first hour, we begin a whiteboard exercise. If you want to write a letter, what are we going to write about? And then if you write a short story, we're going to throw out some words we can use and put that on the board. And we'll have to write a text in both languages. In Vanier, we'll write in English so that Ahuntsic will understand the text. So Most of the time we work in a second language. In the second hour we go to the lab. If there's no if there's no one-on-one work, we will work orally or with automatic feedback or pairing with the other college to get feedback from the colleagues. So and improving and correcting each other's work. For 25 minutes we work in French, 25 minutes we work in English, and Vanier helps in English and Ahuntsic helps in French. Then we go back to the class. We work on our written content. So I help in French and they help in English, and we start preparing the lessons for the next class. So the short stories, short fiction, we worked around the Academy of Learning, which is a Harry Potter X-Men type of story. You think they're too old for that, but it works very well. They love it. And it's a kind of framework to their creativity. And it's a linguistic structures that we want to integrate, a lexicon of words that they can use, different verb forms or adverbs that they can use. And so they have feedback and correction in both languages, so that way we value English in a French class and vice versa. So it comes into line with our approach at pure lingualism. So I need them and they need me. So starting from that point, I will now share Nick's screen and hand it over to him. Hello everybody, my name is Nick. I will now share my screen. Okay, so instead of slides, I created a web page to show innovations we created together. And I will talk about the tech side of things for our buddy or pairing system that helps the students to quickly give or receive feedback. We've developed a Moodle website, two of them, English Lab and French Lab, Labo d'Anglais and Labo de Français. And we also have developed activities based on AI for each class in English and in French, thanks to a technology that I'm developing and for 2 years now with my team of developers in the UK and in India. I will present some examples now. It may interest you. It's a system to correct writing. It's called we reformulate or reword. They input the text and then you hit record and submit, and the system gives them a report. And you can see that the mistakes are highlighted in red, and the system will fix the text and show the difference in green. The corrections are in green. And then the system takes the same text and sends it to an AI to get a detailed feedback. And like this. Okay, so that's the reformulation tool. And this is another tool to help with writing. The students click on this button in Moodle. It brings them to an activity, a flashcard activity. So this way the students can learn certain structures, language structures we want them to learn. There's a video here. It says describe the person on this video. The student writes a few sentences to describe the person in the video, and the system identifies the errors and creates an image. I'm just going to show this image again. Okay. And the student can write the description to have AI generate something close to the image they've seen. So that's one of the writing tools. We also have chatbots that help our students to practice conversation in English or French. There we go. There's a video on that right here. And the system automatically grades the performance of the students. Okay, so we have developed another system. It's new. Uh, it's a bit noisy. I tried to test it yesterday in my kitchen with my wife Hélène and my dog. What is your name? So these are the same questions that in the chat bot, and the system can automatically grade the conversation. Where are you born? I am born in Montreal. And how many brothers and sisters do you have? I have no brothers, I have one sister. And then we can click on View History, and the system gives a grade for the language proficiency, the number of words, the usage of correct structures, and errors as well. And the student and the teacher can both see the video that is on the server in Montreal. So there you go. That's another one of our innovations. I have one that can be interesting for you. Where is it? Oh, yes. So, what is it like to work as a nurse? So, this is a robot, a bot that we have different models. You can click on the button here to hear the different bots, and we click on the start button to interact. What's it like to work as a nurse? The job of a nurse, the career is very self-gratifying, and you help people every day. What do nurses do in the healthcare system? So that's what do nurses do in the healthcare system? That's my voice. Every day, nurses spend their time evaluating, observing, speaking to patients, recording critical data, and looking at the medical history and documenting the state of the patient. So we can click on score to get feedback, to get... so I think that's enough for now. I can share the link in the chat. Phil, do you want to take it from here? I can't hear you. You're on mute. Oh, mute. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, so I will take the mic. I will now jump to... There we go. Okay, so we're going to hear a conversation between two students that are both studying cinema, Ahuntsic and Vanier as well.
Do you have a question?
Like do film stuff, or is it just
In the program we make a short film
okay.
every session. Non, comment tu dis? I'm not good in English.
No, it's okay.
Slide. There are two conversations. The first one is in a class where we talked about interlinguistic pairings and buddy system for learning the second language, and then talking about that in this conversation, and you will see that it's really with that it's really by chance with francophones and anglophones. It's really like an intense reaction. It's funny. I didn't know. I often received some bad comments. times I did some volunteer work in French. It was for soccer, and I forgot a word in French. I think it was 16. It wasn't even a number, a name. It was a number. It wasn't even a word. And the lady was like, "Where, where did you come from?" Well, I was born in Quebec, and she was really mean. She was angry, and I felt angry too. I'm sorry. I'm trying to speak French. And a lot of times when I try and fail, I get some comments. I know it's not always like that, but sometimes it happens in the other direction as well, Anglophones with Francophones. But do you speak other languages? Yes, I speak Swahili and Kinyarwanda. You speak Swahili?
Oui, je parle
She
Swahili.
speaks Swahili.
Kinyarwanda.
Tu parles Swahili?
Oui.
Attends, ninafuraha kukutana na wewe.
Unafuraha
That's all I
kukutana na
know.
mimi? Oh, hata mimi ninafuraha
Where-
kukutana na wewe. Asante.
Where did you learn that?
Parce que je connais.
Where did you learn that?
On internet. I never
Oh.
traveled
I
in
can
a
teach
Swahili
you.
place, but I really like this language.
Oh, I can teach you. Just maybe.
So you can see that
course.
there's some really interesting coincidences that happen, and it's wonderful. So in the class, what we observe is the students will share their identifier, their links in their social networks, their social media. So we can do that. They follow each other on social media. Then we can have an impact on their algorithm to widen the scope of their contacts and increase their echo chamber. And sometimes the students will say, "Hey, sir, I'm still in contact with Julie. We don't talk a lot, but I still see her on the social media sometimes, and he sees what she sees and what she likes, and vice versa, and that's an added value." And so I'm going to go through this here. The discussion with my partners went well, positive results. They generally have shared their time between English and French pretty equitably. The campus, Vanier just hosted Ahuntsic, and then we will visit the different programs that are interesting. The technical programs, policing, for example, nursing, and then they will write a report and make a video and do some interviews. And we collected data in the first iteration, and there's no significant effect on the will to communicate. But it's been 2 or 3 times we've been giving the class. We're starting to know what we're doing, so we might want to do it again. But positive emotions pushing towards investment. So our recommendations was to begin slowly with one contact at the end of a semester, and to increase slowly a snowball effect. So encouraging the sharing of social media contacts. It comes with a risk, of course. It doesn't always work well. Sometimes things happen, sometimes positively, sometimes negatively. But what we come away with, what the students gain, is enormous. And I suggest also to start this with a second year of primary school with an intercultural exchange. I can elaborate on that, starting with the recommendations of the Commissioner of French Language that have proposed to do that, but in an angle oriented towards French. So I don't think it's oriented to both languages. So I'm going to go through this quickly here. We are in a simulation situation, Centre Prespa in Montreal. You have a technician here and a computer that controls a mannequin, and the students have a simulation, a case that they have to work on, 2 cases per day. These are technicians, sometimes they're students that do the simulation, that have to take certain actions and make the right decisions, and the technician has to do certain things to make the patient comfortable with certain objectives, and the teacher is playing the role of the doctor, sometimes the patient. So the context is the teachers. I was told at Vanier that it's a bit difficult because there's no French in the program and there's no English in the other side, the other program. So even the francophones learn the vocabulary, the abbreviations. There's a lot in French and in English, and they don't know them in the other language. The volunteers come to the hospital. They want to they want an anglophone patient, and the interns, and they want somebody in their own language, and they're a bit anxious. And this is a hospital simulation. We're not necessarily talking about education here, so the linguistic issues are also very significant in hospitals, and the impacts. This is very well documented. It costs millions of dollars. Those mistakes related to language and some misunderstandings because of language issues that cause medical and pharmaceutical issues, and so the colleges not a lot of them want to do this cross-linguistic simulation. They weren't doing it before, but now they've accepted to do it. So before the students receive a base case that they have to work on. They receive it in both languages to prepare. I'm not going to talk about VR now. We can talk about virtual reality and your questions if you have some. So during the simulation, there is a briefing. It starts with the briefing for 45 minutes to an hour in the language of the simulation. They do it first in French and then in English, vice versa. So they'll have simulations in both languages during the day. The teachers will teach in their own language. There will be, during the simulation, a student from each college working with the mannequin. And then there's a debriefing session in the language of the simulation. Here you have excerpts of the simulation. Watch your ears. The sound has distortion. I'm just going to give you an oxygen mask. It's going to help you, okay? And my colleague will continue to take your vital signs, okay? What's cough in French? Tousser. So, are you coughing? A lot. Are there secretions? What are you doing? I'm taking a pulse now, the radial pulse to see the. I'm just taking your heart beat. I'm just reading your heartbeat. Okay, so the everything goes down to the right side of my chest. Perfect. That's great. So, sorry. Perfect. Okay. So it's pretty moving to see that work and that empathy and awareness on both sides and working together. So a few results from the teacher's standpoint. Education that is the socio-professional level and at the technical level. It's meeting two objectives at once, because these students don't often speak a lot, and so the both groups finally mix. So it's like at work, when people work together, they have to start to get to know each other from scratch, and it's like that now. So so with their friends, and sometimes they will be on autopilot. So they will take the simulation more seriously and to be able to perform and do well with in front of both groups. So they surprised with the difference of what they do with how they do with the other group versus their own. So they don't work the same as with their friends. They will communicate more with their new partners. The teachers say that it's been 3 years that they've been working together. We know who will do what during the simulation. So then when they work with somebody new, it's different. They're challenged, and it's more like a work situation. So the students say they would have to do more simulation in the second language. They have to sometimes do the OQLF test. so they really need to practice. They don't want to do VR exercise if it doesn't count. They didn't know the terms in both languages. That was published, but they don't know about it. It's published for their use. Some thought it was easier than they thought. Some thought that it was much more difficult. And they saw that they were challenged in French in a professional situation because of stress. And so they have a very hierarchical relationship with the non-francophones feel it very quickly when they have difficulty in explaining a case. So the students also said that we are more professional, less casual when we work with the other group. In English and in French, I have to work 3 languages: patient, nurse, and doctor. When I speak nurse, that's okay. With the patients, I don't know what to say, and with doctors, it's even more difficult. It makes me anxious. So a survey, a non-scientific survey, we were looking at the teacher said I would do simulations in the second language. Would I agree? Not more or less. Did it go well? Most of them said yes. I think I can do this work in the second language. So we observe that it's more towards no. Bilingual simulations should be part of the program. Yes, more towards yes. I need to practice in the second language. And did it motivate me to practice with people from the other college? 100% yes. So that's not how we test motivation, but we test it by inference. But it's non-scientific, but they could have said, no, it doesn't motivate me. So after that, we had some debriefing, some discussion. All the programs gain with this dialogue. The college network has programs in both languages where they're not in contact. So they develop skills in their second language, social linguistic efforts with their future colleagues, approach with their colleagues, clients, patients. It's really good to start early. It's useful to give different roles to the student in second language. And we observed in nursing that the person who has the best in the language of simulation takes control of things. So if you give them a role directly, and you will have to practice your second language more, they will make more effort. So exchanges between teachers are interesting, and respect of the language of the person. And it was different for Dawson, but there's some logistical challenges as well. And the pairing project, the buddy project continues. There was a Maisonneuve and John Abbott carried on. We didn't have one this year, and Dawson did a simulation in French, but with their own students. So there's teachers that accepted to work in French. That's wonderful. It's another way of doing it. And the future, Monique Corbeil, the director of the center, told me that the director, the directeur d'études de Montréal, want to use more of these kind of simulations. So I will close in saying that it's necessary to develop a transdisciplinary pedagogy of intercultural mediation, where socialization with francophones would take priority, or anglophones, depending on the case, would take priority on the mastery of certain linguistic objectives. It is more important to communicate together with the other group than realizing certain objectives related to participation. So, in my opinion. So, there we go. Thank you. Thank you to both of you. I'm a bit taken aback by your presentation. I'm surprised to see to what point there's room for improvement in what we do in learning a second language. And this buddy-buddy system, this pairing system, can be not just relevant, but I think essential, this intercultural exchange for learning a second language. Especially the example in nursing is very interesting. It shows the efforts and the work that must be done by these students and the efforts that they make. And it's really interesting. They ask a lot of questions, and there's a lot of questions in the chat. I know people really appreciated your work, and we hope you can go much further with this. And There's some questions in the chat. I have one here. Philippe, in the beginning, you presented your data around resistance from Anglophones to learning French, and we want to shove French down our throat. They want to assimilate us, etc., etc. So I want to know if this type of resistance is also found in the Francophones. Is the inverse also true? Or is there resistance from Francophones to learning English? Do we have data on that? Yes, Nick could answer better than me on that, but we didn't do the same study in that direction. So I see Nick that says not really. No, we don't have the data, but we have anecdotal evidence, some stories, some students who refuse to speak English in the lab, in the classroom. It happens sometimes, especially in the earlier levels, but it exists. But my intuition is that just anecdotal evidence in my family, all the children want to speak English. They listen to podcasts in English and shows in English, and so I think that there's much more talent in English in the young generation than ours. Yes, that's impressive. The Francophone students probably read a lot. They listen to music rather in English, and they listen to podcasts and shows in English. It's really fascinating, the young generation. But it's especially the higher levels, these students who are more autonomous and can function in the second language. Not all students. There are groups of beginners that need to catch up and have work to do as well. There's Tayama, who is asking the following question. I'm just trying to find it. Sorry. Yes. Okay. So, can we use these examples when we will do an interview for a position, for a job? These examples, Nicolas, I don't know what examples she's talking about. I imagine so, the examples that you give. Yes, absolutely. I will share. I sent the link to the chat, and you can share it and use it as you like. Thank you. One last question here. In the pairing activity, in what year were the students when you paired them together? The third year of their college. Some nursing teachers that are here today can tell us more, but the idea was to have students that were proficient, that were in their third year of study when they were paired. I think the first year they're still learning and probably not ready for that. And so the students told us that they would have liked to do it 1 year earlier, but there are pedagogical considerations as well. So I'd like to, because people are starting to leave because the webinar will end, I'd like to hear you, Philippe and Nicolas. In your opinion, how do you see the impact of this buddy system, this pairing system, interculturally on learning a second language? How do you see that in your experience as a teacher and a citizen of Quebec? What is your experience with that? It's difficult to say because the semester continues and the students are doing their exams now, but the semester is not over. But if I ask the students, how do you feel about all of this? It's always positive. But I don't have any concrete specific data. Phil, you have surveys that you've done. Yes, for me it's essential because, as you've seen with our comparative graph with the emotional data, the rapport with the other, especially in the Anglophone sector, Nick was talking to the students who would tell us that they have some conflicts with the Francophone community sometimes. And Francophones don't always know that they have some conflict. And it's not always easy to accept that we're not always the greatest society for welcoming the other. But that's not always the issue. Sometimes, how come you don't speak French? We're in Quebec here. So you see, that doesn't encourage people to speak French. It exists, unfortunately. So when my student doesn't want to speak French out in public, he goes to the French class in Cégep, and there's an opportunity to converse with somebody with whom he gets along, and they like each other, and maybe they'll make friends with some other people in their community, and they change their perception, and their desire of integration changes. So for me, that's essential, and it should start in the second year of education, second year of primary school. Philippe, I'd like to end with the last question from Laina, who is asking, can you specify what you mean by an end of semester contact that you talk about in the recommendation section? For me, a contact is just a touching base between the classes. So, for example, if Nick and I do this for the first time, we could do a test throughout the week 12 or 13. I'm going to do a Zoom call in the classroom or sending a letter to the other group just to test the contact, to see what it does, how it works. So it's a first test at the end of the semester, ahead of what we're going to do the next semester. And then the next semester, we can maybe add more to our efforts and grow the snowball, if you will. Second activity, then a third, and then we're at 9 or 10 contacts per year now. Letters, Zoom calls, but that's 15 weeks, 9 contact points in 15 weeks. That's maybe too much even. So we have to do evaluations as well. So that's what we do. I hope I answered your question. Yes, I would forget also. Yes, I believe so. It was very clear. So I'd like to thank you. It's 12:56. We have had enough time for your wonderful presentation today. If you have anything to add, I would let you do so now. If not, have a wonderful day. And as I was saying in the chat, if you are going to join us at our annual conference, come and meet me. I'll be very happy to meet all of you. And you can say, Nicolas, I was at this or that webinar, and we'll be happy to discuss things with you. So thank you, Nicolas. Thank you, Philippe. And I hope to see you again soon at our yearly conference, I hope, in Sainte-Foy in June. So we hope to see all of you soon. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, everybody.